Okay, so I had my pharmacy tech appointment training, whatever they call it, yesterday, and realized how wrong I'd gotten a few things. So it took about an hour, I guess, for the whole thing, maybe not quite that long. They went over not only the drug that they're going to be, not only the chemo drug, but there's also anti-nausea drugs. There's another drug I have to take starting the day before the chemotherapy. There are some shots you have to take after the chemotherapy. It's a lot of information. Luckily I have notes. The blood test appears to be okay, unless I hear otherwise. I'll be doing my chemotherapy on Monday. There is a drug called dexamethasone, which I start taking Sunday morning, and I forget what that's for. I think it's to help prevent infection. One of the side effects of that one is possible insomnia, which I already suffer from. So, great. Then they also gave, and then right before the chemotherapy they give you something called ondansetron or Zofran, which they give you right before the chemotherapy, and I didn't write down what that was for. And then they give you the first dose of chemotherapy, which is for me it's the Taxotere, or docetaxel, and then that takes 1 hour to infuse. And then the second round of chemo is the Cytoxan. I can't even pronounce the other name. And that one takes 30 minutes. They do it separately so that if you have an allergic reaction to one, they know which drug it is that you're having the allergic reaction to. And then 24 hours after your chemo is done, you have to give yourself a shot. I thought I was done with those when I got rid of the diabetes. And then they also give you then they give you more the Zofran to take home to use as needed for nausea and vomiting. So I guess that's what that is for. When they give you 3 tablets right before chemotherapy, it's for nausea and vomiting. Some of the side effects they went over for the docetaxel, one of the things they want me to look out for is tingling and numbness in the hands or feet. That's one of the more common side effects, I guess. Or I guess it's not it's more common of the less common side effects. But it's one of those that you need to let your doctor know about right away if you start having those. And then they'll keep checking for infections or anything as we go through the blood tests for each of the chemo sessions. And then I think it's the same for the Cytoxan. I can't pronounce these. And then they gave me instructions for if I have the nausea and vomiting, what to do. If I get sores in my mouth, they gave me a recipe for a DIY mouthwash with baking soda, salt, and water to make up and use. What to do if you get diarrhea, if you have cramps, if you're just feeling weak and tired. can't do anything about the hair loss. And if you have a fever that reaches 100.5, then you need to go to the emergency room. So really it was just like going over everything. You know, they give you the chart, the list, and say this is what you can expect to happen. So, of course, I'm like in this fog brain where I can't remember anything anymore. And so while I was at the appointment, they put in my prescription for the Decadron that I need to start taking tomorrow morning, and I completely forgot to stop at the pharmacy and pick it up. And so I had to go back this morning while I was out running my errands. It was on my list of things to do. And so I was halfway out to the hospital, and I did the other things I have to do, and I was headed back home, and I made one more stop and realized I forgot to do that, and I was halfway home. So I had to go back out to the hospital and pick that up and come back home. And there was a horrible accident on the freeway this morning too, or this afternoon as I was on my way back, and it just completely blocked traffic going in the other direction. I'm glad it wasn't my direction, but it completely blocked all lanes of traffic. It was just everybody was at a dead stop. Nobody was going. So I hope everybody was okay. But anyway, the fog brain, this is, my mind goes off on tangents like that now. And I'm forgetting things that I would normally not forget. I would normally have my list and I would refer to it, and now I can't even remember to look at the list, let alone remember what's on the list. And so there's a thing called chemo fog, which you tend to forget things, and it's a result of the chemotherapy drugs. But I feel like I've already, I haven't even started the chemotherapy, and I feel like I'm already in that fog. And I think it's just because there's so much to process. There's, the idea that you have cancer, and then all the stuff you have to deal with. For me, there's a lot of financial things to deal with because, sorry about that. I live alone. I'm in Hawaii. I'm a one-person household. It's very expensive to live here as it is. And so when you throw something, a medical procedure like this into the mix, all of a sudden, your finances just get thrown for a loop. And, anybody that has to have anything medically done knows that, this can throw you for a loop. I've eaten through my savings. I've maxed out all my credit cards, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it, from day to day right now. Financially, emotionally, medically, I'm just kind of hanging on. So that's where I am, and I don't know where I'll be on Monday after the chemo, but I'll come back and do an update, and I'll probably wait until Tuesday to do the update so that I can report on the nausea factor. Just to throw it in the mix, whether I got it or not. So that is where I am right now. And if you have any questions, if you ever see this, if anybody ever bothers to look at it and has any questions, just shoot a comment in there, or send me an email, and I'll pick it up and respond. And I'll see you later.